Good evening, everyone. And yes, I know what you're thinking. He's wearing that Christmas jumper again. Well, I had to put it back on because it goes with the questions and I want to have the same jumper for the answers, and it is the Sport at Christmas quiz. So that's why I've got my nice Christmas jumper on. Best jumper from Aldi's. So I hope you enjoyed yesterday's quiz. And I bet you've been thinking about the answers a bit. So let's go through them. I'll do the question as I always do, then the answer with a little bit of background. So number one, in what decade did football stop being played on Christmas Day in England? Well, when I did this before, I know I didn't give you a multiple choice, but if I had have done, I would have said, was it the 70s, the 60s, or the 50s? And you were right if you said the 1950s. That's when football, we'll say in England, because Scotland was a little bit different, it stopped being played as a regular fixture. Now, there were still a few games the following seasons. So, Christmas Day 1957 was the last full league programme for Christmas Day. Now, obviously, when floodlights came in, opportunities to play evening games, there was less pressure to squeeze fixtures in to public holidays like Christmas Day. Families started to prefer to stay at home. They started having televisions. They started having nice Christmas dinners. The children started getting more toys. They wanted to be at home. They didn't want to go out to see the match. They wanted to watch things on the television. So it changed. The social structure changed. In 1958, there were only 3 league games on Christmas Day, and by 1959 in England, only 1. So it was the 50s when Christmas Day matches ceased. And obviously we've shifted them now, haven't we, to other bank holidays like Boxing Day. So that was number 1. You probably remember watching that. So well done if you got the 50s. And number 2, maybe a bit easier this one. What UK city has been the venue for the event billed as the best equestrian party since about 1907? I'm sure you went straight to London and the venue. That's right, Olympia. So the International Horse Show, where we have several days of competition. It's a traditional part of Christmas amongst the equestrian community. Now, I'm sure you grew up probably watching this on telly. You get to that point, don't you, on a Christmas Day or Christmas week afternoon, you've eaten your selection box, you're getting a bit bored, the telly goes on, oh, bit of horse jumping. And I'm sure that's why a lot of people, I don't know, of a certain age, probably know the names like Harvey Smith, David Broom, particularly, because they were always in evidence there. And they always had special competitions and a lot of, it was good. So it still goes on, but I don't think it's quite the same as it was because we have many more TV channels, people do other things now, but it still is filmed, I believe, for TV. So number 2 was London and Olympia. Number 3, what 2 countries contested the first ever cricket test match to be played on Christmas Day, which was 1951? So the clue there would be, it couldn't be England at home, could it? Because you don't play cricket matches on Christmas Day generally. So it's going to be probably the equator or southern hemisphere. So it was Australia versus the West Indies. Australia versus West Indies was the first one. Australia won this series 4 games to 1, so they won it quite comfortably. And interestingly, both Australia and West Indies had beaten England in the previous 18 months. So they were both flying high, or England was flying low, I don't know which one. So the answer to that one, Australia versus the West Indies. So well done if you got that one, that was the hardest one so far. Number 4, which famous British football manager's playing career was finished after sustaining an injury on Boxing Day 1962? Answers I've had in the past range from Alf Ramsey. No, that he finished playing probably the mid 50s, so it wasn't him. Don Revie, no, he did not sustain a bad injury. I think he finished playing at Leeds and he was fine in his mid-30s. It was Brian Clough. Brian Clough, yeah. 29 years of age. Originally played at Middlesbrough. Requested a move. And where did he end up? The rivals, Sunderland. So it was at Sunderland where he achieved 63 goals in just 74 appearances, which is pretty astonishing. And in 1962, he'd already scored 24 goals by Christmas. He was in a match against Barry at Roker Park on Boxing Day, as I mentioned. It was raining. It was an awful day. And he clashed with the goalkeeper. He was put clean through, torn knee ligaments. And in the early 60s, for footballers with that sort of injury, there wasn't really much they could do. So Paul O'Brien had to retire. He'd only achieved, I think it was 2 England caps. And his amazing goal-scoring record, both at Middlesbrough and Sunderland, came to a quick end. So number 4, Brian Clough was the answer. Number 5, which former professional footballer and sports pundit known as Cammy was born on Christmas Day 1957? Well, I'm sure you know this one. Chris Kamara. Yeah, Chris Kamara works as a presenter and football analyst at Sky Sports. He's played, well, who hasn't he played for? Swindon, Brentford, Stoke, Leeds, Luton, Bradford, Portsmouth, all over. Managed, I think the last club he managed was Bradford, but he's very good as a pundit. And yeah, so Christmas Day 1957, Chris Kamara. Number 6, horse racing. Which horse won the King George VI chase on Boxing Day 1986 at a starting price of 16 to 1, which was the first of 4 victories? And it was, of course, the famous grey Desert Orchid. So you've got Desert Orchid, well done. Some people go for Wayward Lad. Close. He achieved 3 wins in that period of time. So you were close. But it was actually Desert Orchid. So the National Hunt race, King George VI Chase, has been held at Kempton Park on Boxing Day since 1947. It's the most prestigious chase in England behind Cheltenham Gold Cup. So number 6, Desert Orchid. Now, Christmas Day in America, which sport takes centre stage with up to 5 games being shown on telly throughout the day? So if you're a fan, you're in heaven on this one. And the answer is, it's not American football now. They do show some, but the actual sport is basketball. The NBA, basketball, yeah. There's been an annual occurrence of showing matches like this since way back. They were playing loads of matches from the mid-late 40s, obviously not on telly then, but in the modern era, yeah, it's saturation coverage. So obviously in America, it's a very popular sport, as we know. So well done if you've got basketball, NBA. Number 8. On the 26th of December in Australia, which sport grabs the whole nation's attention? I gave you a multiple choice, didn't I? Horse racing, cricket, Australian rules football. Quite a few people go for Australian rules football because it's incredibly popular in Australia, but it isn't the right answer. The right answer is cricket, and it's known as the Boxing Day Test. So the Boxing Day Test is at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. It's a very long established tradition with upwards of 90,000 people in attendance on the first day of the international 5-day test match between Australia and whoever the touring nation is at the time. Now, it's obviously got more significance if it's during the Ashes series when the old enemy England are the visitors. So cricket is that key game that most people are tuning into on the 26th. So well done if you got that one. Number 9, a bit of a tricky one. In which sport were the Christmas Day derbies the norm up until about the 1960s? Well, it wasn't football, no. It was rugby league. Some of you might remember that, yeah? So remember, if we go back into that era, 60s and earlier, people didn't really have what we've got now on Christmas Day. You weren't going to have a big blowout Christmas dinner, lay on the sofa with your tub of heroes, watching the EastEnders Christmas edition. You didn't have a telly. You probably didn't have a blowout Christmas dinner. There weren't many presents. You just wanted to be entertained. Where would that happen? At the rugby club or the football club. So rugby league and football had great big crowds. So the managers or the directors of these clubs wanted to cash in and get more people in. So for example, in Hull, they would arrange it so the football match at Hull Ground, the Boulevard Ground, you could say watch that in the morning, and in the afternoon you could go to Hull, Hull KR, for example, to watch Hull KR play Hull FC in the rugby league match. And that's how it tended to go. Derbies were the norm throughout that period of time. So Boxing Day was much more, and Christmas Day and Boxing Day were much more sport driven. So for example, in 1958, Hull KR played Hull Kingston Rovers played on Christmas Day. Then they played Wakefield away on Boxing Day 1958, and then they went to Featherstone on the 27th. So Hull were playing Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and the day after Boxing Day. And that was kind of fairly standard. A little bit different now, as I'm sure you can imagine. That's number 9. So number 10. On Boxing Day, in the inaugural Premier League season, 92-93, a Chris Waddle-inspired Sheffield Wednesday raced into a 3-0 first-half lead over Manchester United. So this would have been Boxing Day 1992. So the question was, which Manchester United player scored the late goal to seal a memorable draw against Sheffield Wednesday? It wasn't Mark Hughes. It wasn't Brian McClare. The winner went in by Eric Cantona. So well done if you got Eric Cantona. Brian McClare got the 2 earlier goals, both headers. And Cantona got it late in the match. And of course, he went on to win with Manchester their first Premier League title, or the first ever Premier League title, in 26 years of Manchester United. So it was a long wait. And of course, he became the player to win the last First Division Championship title with Leeds United, and then the first Premier League title with Manchester United. So he had the best of both, didn't he? So number 10, Eric Cantona. Number 11, which former British athlete once said, train twice on Christmas Day, your competitors may only train the once? And that was Daley Thompson. Remember him? Quite a comedian, wasn't he? Whistling through the national anthem when he got one of his golds, didn't he? I think Los Angeles, 84. 2 gold medals in the decathlete, numerous world titles, numerous Commonwealth, Europeans, incredible records. Daley Thompson. So that was his quote. Number 11. Number 12. In late December, the world's strongest man has been on TV a regular since about the mid-70s. But what former Olympian won the title in 83 and 85? And I'm sure a lot of you have got Jeff Capes. Yeah, the shot putter. Absolutely. So you've got Jeff Capes, correct. Now it's interesting because in 83, Jeff Capes won it. In 84, John Paul Sigmarsson, the Icelander, you might remember him. 85, Jeff won it again. 86, John Paul Sigmarsson won it. So that rivalry between those two really lifted up the viewing figures, and a lot of people talk about the mid-late 80s was probably the key time for World's Strongest Man on television. Jeff Capes, he's 71 years of age now. Commonwealth gold in 74 and 78. Indoor gold. And he was an Olympian in 72, 76 and 80. I think his best result was 5th at the Moscow Games in 80. But great competitor, and yeah. So if you got Jeff Capes, good answer, well done. Number 13, the Spengler Cup is contested annually from the 26th to 31st of December. Been going since 1923. What sport? It's not cross country, as some people have said in the past. It's not indoor bowls. It's ice hockey. Yeah. So this is an annual invitational ice hockey tournament in Davos, Switzerland. First on in 1923. Often cited as the oldest invitational ice hockey tournament in the world. And countries that tend to go along are clubs from Switzerland, Canada, Russia, Germany, Czech Republic, Finland, etc. So it tends to be club teams from those nations rather than just a national team playing. So that's the Spengler Cup. The most recent champions, it's a Canadian side. Yeah, Canadian side. So that's number 13. Number 14. On New Year's Eve, December 31st, the St. Sylvester Road Race takes place in which Latin American country? So I gave you Chile, Argentina, Brazil. And if you got Brazil, spot on. It's raced in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's the oldest and most prestigious street race in Brazil. It's been going on since 1925. The race length varies over the years. It's now about 9 miles, 15 kilometres. But it's made a lot tougher by the intense heat, of course, and geographical obstacles, and it's incredibly popular as well. So that's number 14, Brazil. And finally, number 15. In which Christmas Day race is the Peter Pan Cup presented? Now that might sound a bit odd. Peter Pan Cup, you might think. Who does that? Well, this actually is in, yeah, open water swimming. Yeah, it's in swimming. It's the swimmer who wins the Christmas Day swim in the Serpentine Lake in Hyde Park, London. It's been going on since 1864. I think it normally takes place between 9 and 10 in the morning. It was first won by someone called H. Coulter, and J.M. Barrie donated the first Peter Pan Cup in 1904, which was the same year his play Peter Pan debuted on the London stage. So quite an interesting link with history there, wasn't there? What else can we say about it? The Serpentine Swim Club is one of the oldest in the country. Holds the race, well, they have a meet or a race every Saturday. It's only open to members of this club, that Christmas Day race. They'll qualify during the season. And if you're interested how cold the water will be, on average they reckon between 3 to 4 centigrade. So that would definitely take your breath away. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you've enjoyed the little chat about the answers. A lot of sports changed, hasn't it, through the years, like football and rugby league being played on Christmas Day. The social history of Britain's changed, that people have got televisions, they're more well off, they've got more holidays, they want to stay at home in the warm, probably, and the players themselves, like in rugby league, they're not playing 3 games in a row back to back on Christmas Day. So I hope you've enjoyed that nostalgic trip, and happy Christmas to you all. I hope you have a lovely time, and till next time, bye bye for now.